Thank you for keeping it KTN Farmers TV. Today we are talking about beekeeping, and with me is Ezekiel Mumo, who is a bee expert. Mumo, before we went on a break, you are telling us of some of the things that farmers need to know, or management practices of a beehive. Um, you talked about pests. Are there also diseases that affect bees?
I would start with pests, and then I would go to diseases. One of the biggest pests for beehives is human beings. And mostly because you may have your hive, people go and steal the hive itself, or they steal honey. Then you have the black ants. Black ants are very big menace because when they get into a hive, they will eat the honey, they will eat the young ones of the bees, they will also eat the food that bees have stored. That is the pollen, or the bee bread. We also have wax moth. Wax moth is a moth that now comes and infests the wax in a beehive, and they make hobs around the hive. So that basically, when bees are getting the hive, they can be, they can be trapped, and then the wax moth feed on on the on the bees. We also have the small beetles. We have the big. We have the we have beetles. We have small beetles and beetles. We also have the fleas, bee fleas. We have what we call varroa mites. Although varroa mite is not a very big problem here in Kenya, particularly. Yes, those are the major pests. We also have a very big pest that is mostly in the arid areas. We call it the honey badger. It now knocks the hive and gets, it gets the tail inside the hive. Bees cling in it, goes like 100 meters, throws all the bees away, comes back, reduces the number of bees, and then it can come, settle down, and eat the honey. We have, those are the pests. We also have now bee diseases. We have what we call the colony collapse disorder. That is the major, biggest disease for bees. That's why you have you can have your hive with a lot of bees, then all of a sudden, you find in a mixed time, all bees are dead. You call it a colony collapse disorder, CCD. Yes, that is the biggest disease that is a challenge around here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the reason? What causes the colony collapse?
Majorly, I would say this one is from external factors, like if someone was spraying a farm that is close to your hives with a very poisonous kind of aerosol spray. No bees would probably go and feed on flowers or interact with that kind of a chemical. So when they come into, a lot of bees are out, probably 3/4 of bees. They go, all of them. If that aerosol was one that would kill, all those bees go out and come back. What would happen to them in like 2 or 3 days time? The bees would die, all of them. And in fact, now the disease would have, the contaminants or that pest would have now spread across the whole hive. So most bees would die instantly. Yes.
So, what are some apart from the use of pesticide by either farmers or anyone who is using a pesticide? What are some of the other challenges facing bee farmers?
We have a few challenges that affect beekeepers. One of them is we have a lot of importation of honey. And when honey comes here, it means if that is imported, it comes at very low prices now. That now affects the local price of honey. Yeah, sometimes you find people, yeah. The other second challenge is the charcoal burning. Charcoal burning, bees leverage on the use of flowers. So people are cutting trees down. It means now you're reducing the number of trees that bees could forage on. The second challenge. The other one is sprays and pesticides. That one, we've mentioned that one. Then the other challenge would be in beekeeping would be, government giving what we call subsidies. Government should give subsidies like to hives that are probably made around, or raw materials to enable beekeepers make their hives or even produce, like the way they do to subsidies to farmers of maize and that. Yes, there's no subsidy that is provided in beekeeping. So we are all alone by ourselves.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it mean if the government can give subsidies, that means beekeeping will be easier or it'll be cheaper for people to join?
It would mean that there's going to be an increase in the number of beekeepers and also an increase in the honey that is produced here. It's hence meaning a lot of people now would also probably get their sources of livelihoods. Yes.
Okay. Because I remember there was a time I was looking for beehives and the cost alone of a beehive is very exorbitant.
Yes, prohibitive.
Why is this?
First, the cost of production is very high. If you were to produce beehives in Nairobi, first of all, you need to register. You need to have a permit from the government for you to run that workshop. Secondly, you cannot produce the hives by yourself. Even if you are a workman, a carpenter, you can produce a specified number of hives in a day probably. And then, look, you are paying for the raw materials, you are paying your rent, you are paying permit for the county government, you see all those things. And then there is what we call wax that is very expensive, you still have to put in the hive. So when you add all those costs, you find that the cost of production for one beehive goes so very high.
Mm-hmm.
So if the government could probably look into beekeeping specifically, or the agricultural sector, and say livestock beekeeping, and they see what they can do, reduce or set up what we call a maximum price for a particular product based on what they've injected in the sector. Would encourage beekeepers to buy. If the hives were cheap, that would encourage more people to buy hives.
Okay.
But if you get like some hives even go for 15,000 shillings per hive, and then you need to have quite some amount of disposable income for you to buy a few hives that go for 15,000 shillings per hive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going forward, what do you think is the future of bee farming in Kenya?
I think in the last few months, people in the sector have awakened, and people are trying to form collaborations, people are trying to form cooperatives, and people are trying to push the government to seeing whether they can probably also think about beekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Although not so much has been achieved, but we want to believe that in due course there's going to be some change, positive change.
Okay.
Yes, like in Kitui government, you see, they've already started packaging honey from Kitui. Yes. What does that mean for a local beekeeper there? They already have a assured market for their honey. Yes.
Okay. How much honey do we produce as a country currently?
We are currently producing around 30 metric tons of honey per year.
Mm-hmm. And what is our annual consumption of honey?
Of around 125 metric tons.
So there's a big deficit.
There's a big deficit of honey. And all that honey is gotten from different countries, other countries, not in Kenya.
Okay.
Yes.
Just in the few months ago, the government tried to introduce a bill in parliament that was supposed to, according to them, regulate the bee sector. They were calling it the Livestock Bill 2021. A lot of bee farmers really complained about the bill. Why was this reason?
Look here, you don't already praise someone that is on their floor,
Who is
or
on the-
at their worst.
Who is down already?
Yes. So you cannot. It's very hard for you to regulate a sector that has not been formalized. Yes. Because beekeeping currently, as I said, is not very formal. There are no structures that are put into beekeeping like the way you see like in dairy farming or other sectors of agriculture here. Yeah. So, and that's why there was a lot of uproar, because first, the government was subjecting beekeepers to permits, registrations, and all that. Everything included money around that bill. And now I wanted to get more money. Wanted to get the money, the little money that is in the farmer's pocket. They wanted to get it from the farmer's pocket to the government, which now caused a lot of uproar around.
Okay.
Yes.
So how can the government help first formalize the sector? What is needed to be done to make sure that this sector is a formal sector?
We need to have what we call bodies that are inclusive. Inclusive means we need to have a representation. If we had a body in Kenya that has a beekeeper being represented, the private sector, that is the producers, like the people who make hives are represented. We have the research institutions like the universities are represented. We also have the NGOs represented, and we have which other body? We are the beekeeper, the producers, the research institutions, and the NGOs, well represented in the whole in a body currently, and then that can be a body that now any beekeeper can register under. And then I think that is the way to go for the government.
Okay.
Yes, but it should be private sector.
Private sector driven.
Yes, private sector driven, but with the backing from the government.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me pick a few things from that proposed or the suspended bill.
Yes.
Because the bill is already suspended. And one of the things that I saw in the bill, and I'm thinking from what you've said, could have helped the sector, could have helped formalize the sector.
Yes.
And one of the things is the bill requires beehives to be designed as prescribed in the guidelines, branded and registered. Having beehives that are standardized, could that have helped maybe in formalizing the sector, making sure that all farmers have the right bees, the beehives? Those who have been having traditional beehives have been educated on the importance of having hives that are standardized, that ensures that even as you harvest your bee, you don't kill the bees in the process.
That particular clause would have done more harm than benefit. Because currently the number of hives that we have, 70% of them are traditional hives.
Okay.
Does it mean that we have now to throw away those hives, or we don't render those guys as beekeepers, or what? So, I mean, registering beehives is fine, but do not give specifications on whatever has been in existence. How do I register my logo hives now? Or are they? Do we say these are not hives, or am I being told by the government that I should throw away those hives? What do I do? Because as per what they say, what exactly are the criterion, or what exactly are the specifications for those hives? It was not already given in the bill. What specifications were given?
So the specification was not.
There was no specified way. Specifications that beehive should look like these 1, 2, 3, or like that. Yeah.
Okay. The other proposal in the bill was that a person shall not leave a hive containing bees within 100 meters of a highway. What do you think? What is your thoughts about that particular clause?
100 meters.
From the highway.
That means anyone with less than an acre would not have been a beekeeper. Because if you do that measurements, 100 by 100 meters, that is almost an acre. So anyone that is doing beehives in less than an acre should be rendered not a bee. I mean, would have now been in the clause of the government, and they would be forced probably to throw away the hives or give them away. Yeah.
But I think on my own opinion of this bill was to make sure that they minimize the disturbance on the bees, because having them close to the highway and all that noise can lead to the bees becoming rowdy and
harmful. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but I think now if with what we call the sector guys in the sector, first of all, being consulted, it would have been put in a better way. Yes. You can even have hives in your background, in your backyard, living in a very small space, and they would not harm anyone. But have hives in a very huge piece of land, but they are rowdy because they've been disturbed. Bees only disturb when they feel there's an intrusion. Yes. So I think that one, for me, I would say now, is something that would now praise now. Anyone who has a small piece of land, they will not be a beekeeper.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a similar clause again, almost similar to that one. And the clause says, person shall not place a hive containing bees within 30 meters of property line or 30 meters from your neighbors. What's the difference between the two? And why do you think uh, they were trying to introduce this clause?
Um, after my little research, I found that all these kind of bill was lifted from a different kind of, was lifted from, in fact, Ontario, Canada, and placed here. So all these would have been feed to another country, but not really in Kenya, because you see, 30 meters between you and your neighbor, well, that would be fine, but I don't know, someone is going to be measuring now, this is 30 meters and this in place-to-place hives. That would be a lot of work, and it would be very hard to regulate, not unless those guys from the government are there to check.
Okay.
Yes,
Earlier on, you all talked about the colony collapse disorder.
yes.
And on this bill, there is a clause in this bill that says disposal of dead colonies of bees, honeycombs, or exposed hives. The authorities will either dispose these dead bees. If you don't do it, they will do it on your behalf and then charge you. What do you think about that clause? And
Well,
why is it important to dispose bees in a right way? And what do farmers do now that
uh,
have this problem?
well, some clauses in the bill were good, like that one, because you find one of the biggest problems or the pest that is called waxmoth is brought about by the way you dispose your wax and other products from the hive. So if you do it poorly, you will have now you will have now given a breeding site for pests now. So I think that was a good clause, and it should if the bill would have passed, then it would be something that is good, because now it would now also help in reducing the number of pests in the bee colonies that we currently have right now. Yes.
According to you, or in your own opinion, what do you think is the best, or what is the best practice of disposing dead bees or a collapsed colony?
You know, like in hospital, people we have incinerators, eh? But in the forest, the best way you can dispose either bird wax, dead bees, or other products is to burn, completely burn them. Yes.
All right. Okay. Another clause that I think, I don't know, I'll seek your opinion on the same. Um, you will require an importation permit to import bees. You'll also need a certificate of inspection. If you don't do that, you would have either been sent to jail for 1 year or both. What is your take on that?
That was awesome, and it's a very good bill. I mean, a very good clause, because you know, our African bees, what we call the Apis mellifera, are very resistant to diseases. And if you check on the Western, you find that a lot of bees in the Western countries are they are affected by diseases so fast. So any importing bees now would alter the genes of our local bees. So I think that now the government there was trying to protect the beekeeping, I mean the beekeeper here and the bees themselves, and also our nature, you know. You don't need to get bees from the West, where bees are their genetic composition is very prone to diseases, and reintroduce that kind of a gene here. It's like now trying to reduce the number of bees.
Okay.
So I think and even still now, as currently we say, people are not allowed to import bees.
Okay.
Yes,
Another bill that I think you had talked about it earlier on,
yes.
and I think this is one of the bills that you guys had issues with. That the bill seeks to outlaw farmers from keeping bees for commercial purposes, except in an apiary that is registered. Why are you guys against this particular clause or this?
Look, an apiary is a location where you have your bees.
Uh-huh.
You can have apiary in your land or in a leased land. So you don't need, it's like now going to register your place where you do your cows. Why would you register where you do your cows? Why would you not register where you do your cows, but you are forced to register where you do your bees? And in the same even sector, livestock. Look, if I was to lease land in some place like in Nairobi and do my bees, who would I register that apiary under? Is it my apiary or the owner of the farm? So it was ambiguous. That clause was ambiguous, and it would have brought a lot of confusion and also complications in the long run. Yes.
Earlier on, we talked about the number of beehives that we have. And you said the data that we have is from 10 years ago.
Yes.
Don't you think this clause might have helped that, in that we'll be able to know we have this number of apiaries, and in this number of apiaries, these are the number of beehives that we have?
You know, there are better ways of data collection than having it in the parliament and pass it as a law. Why would they not involve the Ministry of Agriculture, collect data, have people register willingly, with no punishments if you don't register? Collect exactly the number of beehives that we have in Kenya. I want to believe the Ministry of Livestock, Agriculture, Livestock can do that comfortably. Yes, and then in a couple of months or so, years, we can have the correct data of hives that we have. Yeah. Then in these, it was a little bit also ambiguous because you don't know exactly what is commercial. Yes. Does commercial state is 10 hives, 50 hives, 100 hives, 200 hives? What is commercial in this case? There was no answer to that. Yes. I think they would have started by defining terms. Commercial means this. Apiary means this, and apiary in this case means your own apiary in your own farm.
Okay.
Yes.
Another clause that I think the bee farmers had issues with is certificate of registration that should be renewed annually. Why do you guys have a problem with that?
Most of the times you find beekeeping is technical, and it's technical in this way. You may have hives in your farm, but they have no bees. What stage does it require you to register? And if I register my 20 hives that have no bees, and I pay, what am I paying for? Is it for the hives or for the bees? You know, a beehive can only be a function of beehive with bees inside. Assume I also have like 20 hives and only have 10 of them with bees. What number do I register? You know, it's a little bit ambiguous. It's like saying you can only register your cow when it gives birth, and then I have 50 cows. So what time do you register? Do you register all of them just before they are getting pregnant or when they are pregnant? So, I mean, in the whole case of registering apiaries and renewing permits, it's a challenge because, see, I can only register apiary that has my hives are there and they have bees. What if you have your apiary but no bees?
And I think that's the answer to that is because you are registering annually, so you just register the bees that the hives that have
bees.
Yes. So if you had 50 this year, and next year maybe you decided I want to do away with 20, so you will register again and say my bees have now reduced to.
Downgrade now with the government, even downgrade the rates.
Yeah.
You see, that's a challenge now.
Okay. So in less than a minute, what do you think should be the way forward in regulating the bee sector?
I would first urge all involved stakeholders to come together and form cooperatives or organizations from the grassroots so that we have a strong stakeholder that can push for laws or can object such like bills when they are subject to the parliament or to the government. Because without now formal organization or grouping, it is very hard. Yes.
And what part will the government play?
Now the government, after you form cooperatives, organizations like that. Now we can lobby the government to probably now give us incentives, give us the people, the extension officers and all that. And then we would see a very fast growing beekeeping sector as opposed to what we have currently.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mumo, for sparing time to come and have this conversation with us.
Yes.
Hopefully, we can still create some time back or later to call you back and still have a go on this bill,
Yes,
on what bee farmers are thinking about. For our viewers back at home, that is it from today's show on beekeeping. Until next time, goodbye.